This was an act of war, and it was an act of war without there being a war.
The United States likely did Stuxnet.
I don't think that there's a question that the U.S. is behind it. I mean, it's not even something that I think that we, have to sort of debate.
Facing this body today is to prevent the tyrants of Tehran from acquiring nuclear weapons.
Nations of the world must not permit the Iranian regime to gain nuclear weapons.
Normal malware doesn't go after control systems, and this was specifically focused on control systems.
This isn't like two kids in the basement in Kansas throwing some code together.
I never put my foot on the Iranian side. I never met any Iranian scientist or engineer in my life.
On October 5th, 2007, someone uploaded a file to an online malware scanner. Not a single antivirus engine flagged it. No alert was raised. No analyst took notice. That file was Stuxnet, the first piece of code in history designed not to spy or steal, but to physically destroy nuclear infrastructure. By the time anyone understood what it was, more than 1,000 centrifuges inside Iran's most secure facility had already been sabotaged. The story of how it got there begins not with code, but with stolen blueprints and a deal that was never supposed to be made. A single upload. That's where the trail begins. On October 5th, 2007, a file appeared on VirusTotal, an online clearinghouse where security researchers and hobbyists submit suspicious programs for automated scanning. The file, later linked to Stuxnet, was assigned a unique SHA-256 hash, quietly cataloged in the system's logs. At the time, not a single antivirus engine flagged it as dangerous. The code blended in, unremarkable among thousands of daily submissions, its true nature invisible even to the most advanced detection software of the era. The VirusTotal record, now preserved in forensic archives, shows the precise timestamp, October 5th, 2007. No alarm was triggered. No analyst took note. The binary sat in the database untouched and unanalyzed for years. Its presence was a digital breadcrumb, a clue that would only gain meaning in hindsight. For investigators retracing the path of the world's first cyberweapon, this upload became a critical artifact. The original file's hash matches later samples recovered from infected systems in Iran, tying the earliest public sighting of Stuxnet to a moment when its creators still believed their weapon was invisible. At the time, Stuxnet's code was unlike anything seen before, but its sophistication was masked by its restraint. The sample did not trigger any known malware signatures. It did not attempt to spread aggressively or announce itself with obvious signs of sabotage. Instead, it waited, silent and inert, until it encountered the exact environment it was built to attack. This absence of detection was not accidental. The code was engineered to slip past standard defenses using custom routines and cryptographic obfuscation to avoid all conventional scanning methods. The upload to VirusTotal, whether by accident or as a test by its authors, left a fingerprint that would later become the starting point for a global investigation. In that moment, the world had its first tangible evidence, a time-stamped, undetected file of a new kind of weapon. But the meaning of that evidence would remain hidden, overlooked by the very systems designed to guard against threats, until the consequences played out far beyond the confines of the internet. In the late 1970s, a quiet transfer of secrets set the stage for a new kind of vulnerability. At the heart of this chain was Abdul Qadir Khan, a metallurgist working at Urenco, the Dutch-British-German consortium specializing in uranium enrichment. Khan copied classified blueprints for gas centrifuges, machines capable of spinning uranium hexafluoride at extraordinary speeds, separating fissile isotopes for weapons or energy. The stolen designs, smuggled out of the Netherlands, did not remain in Pakistan. Over the next 2 decades, Khan's network sold these blueprints to Libya, North Korea, and most consequentially, Iran.
So, just to make it clear, did you or did you not proliferate nuclear technology?
I don't want to discuss. I told you, and that's why I don't meet the foreign journalists.
Dutch court records and government archives confirm the theft, but the aftermath was shaped by international politics. In a 2005 televised interview, former Dutch Prime Minister Ruud Lubbers recalled how the CIA intervened to block Khan's arrest, warning Dutch authorities that prosecuting him could jeopardize Western intelligence cooperation. Lubbers' words, preserved in the Netherlands Institute for Sound and Vision, offer rare insight. He said they were told to let him go, that the Americans had their reasons. Iran's nuclear ambitions accelerated in the 1980s and the 1990s, powered by the blueprints Khan provided. By the time construction began at Natanz in 1999, Iranian engineers were relying on these second-hand designs, schematics never meant for their own manufacturing standards. The IR-1 centrifuges that emerged were fragile, with rotors prone to cracking under stress. To keep the enrichment lines running, Iran turned to digital automation. They installed Siemens Step 7 programmable logic controllers, or PLCS, imported through intermediaries, to manage the delicate cascade of spinning machines. Maintenance logs and procurement records from the early 2000s show dozens of S7-300 modules purchased and deployed in the Natanz plant. The choice of digital controls was pragmatic, but it carried hidden risks. The Siemens programmable logic controllers were not designed with hostile intrusion in mind. Their integration, meant to solve mechanical problems, instead created an attack surface, one that would later be exploited by code written half a world away. The path from blueprint theft to digital sabotage was not direct, but every step was shaped by decisions made in secrecy, for reasons of expediency or political calculation. The vulnerability of Natanz was not only technical, but historical, a consequence of proliferation, intervention, and the drive to keep the centrifuges spinning at any cost.
You are accused of proliferating it.
Everybody can accuse anybody. I never put my foot on the Iranian soil. I never met an Iranian scientist or engineer in my life.
Inside the walls of Natanz, automation was not a luxury. It was a necessity. By 2000, as construction ramped up, Iranian engineers faced a daunting problem. Their IR-1 centrifuges, derived from A.Q. Khan's smuggled blueprints, were fragile and prone to failure. Rotors spun at tens of thousands of revolutions per minute, and even a minor imbalance could trigger a cascade of breakages. Maintenance records from the early years show that nearly 15% of rotors failed within their first month, often due to hairline cracks or manufacturing flaws. To keep the enrichment process stable, the plant's control architecture had to react in milliseconds, monitoring hundreds of machines at once and shutting down any cascade that showed signs of trouble. The answer came in the form of Siemens Step 7 programmable logic controllers. Procurement documents from 2000 and 2001 detail the acquisition of dozens of S7-300 modules, each one responsible for orchestrating the delicate dance of voltage, frequency, and flow that kept the enrichment lines running. These programmable logic controllers were programmed to read sensor data, adjust rotor speeds, and log every anomaly. The digital control layer replaced manual oversight, allowing operators to manage thousands of variables from a single console. But this shift brought an unintended consequence. The same networked controllers that streamlined operations also created a single point of failure. If the programmable logic controllers were compromised, the entire cascade could be manipulated without a technician ever noticing. The Step 7 modules were never designed with sabotage in mind. Their security model assumed a trusted, isolated environment, an assumption that no longer held true once the plant's control room became the nerve center for every critical process. By the time the last S7300 was installed, the fate of Natanz was tied not just to the quality of its centrifuges, but to the integrity of its digital nervous system. In 2011, a confidential memo from the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, signed under the direction of Hassan Rouhani, called for sweeping reforms in the country's nuclear operations. The document urged tighter integration between the plant's digital control systems and its physical infrastructure, aiming to boost efficiency and reduce human error. Rouhani's push reflected a broader policy to modernize Iran's nuclear program, bringing it in line with global standards and shielding it from outside interference. But the memo also exposed a dangerous paradox. By insisting on deeper reliance on industrial automation, specifically the Siemens Step 7 controllers already in place at Natanz, Iran's leadership increased the system's complexity and centralization. That directive outlined goals for seamless connectivity between enrichment cascades, centralized monitoring, and automated fail-safes, all coordinated through a single digital backbone. Internal technical assessments raised concerns about the growing attack surface. The more interconnected the plant became, the more a single point of compromise could ripple across the entire operation. Yet the policy push for speed and efficiency left little room for robust cybersecurity. Procurement records from the same period show no parallel investment in intrusion detection or network segmentation. Instead, the focus remained on throughput and uptime. The 2011 memo, intended to secure Iran's nuclear capability, inadvertently widened the window for sabotage. Every new layer of automation created new pathways for code to reach the heart of Natanz. When the malware finally arrived, it found an environment shaped by policy decisions that prioritized integration over isolation, efficiency over resilience. The consequences of that calculus would soon become clear. A USB drive left behind on a desk or passed hand to hand became the unlikely delivery mechanism for the world's first cyber-physical weapon. The Natanz enrichment plant operated on an isolated network, air-gapped from the internet by design. Yet the Stuxnet worm crossed this divide using a pathway most considered secure, removable media. The earliest variant needed no zero-day exploits. It relied on the auto-run feature built into Windows XP and a shortcut file trick, the vulnerability CVE 2007-0250, to execute code as soon as a technician browsed the contents of an infected drive. No antivirus flagged the file. No warning appeared on screen. The infection was silent, spreading from thumb drive to workstation, then to the Siemens Step 7 engineering software used to program the plant's PLCs. The worm's next move was more subtle. Instead of launching a visible attack, it inserted itself into the Step 7 process, watching for a very specific configuration. Siemens S7300 controllers, running frequency converter logic set to the narrow range used by IR1 centrifuges. Only when all conditions matched did the code activate its payload. To the plant's monitoring systems, everything looked normal. Stuxnet replayed recorded sensor data, feeding operators a stream of plausible readings while it quietly manipulated the actual commands sent to the centrifuges. A Siemens engineer, testifying before the Bundestag in 2014, explained the cascade protection logic built into these controllers. Normally, rapid changes in rotor speed would trigger a shutdown, safeguarding the machines. Stuxnet bypassed this by mimicking expected sensor signals, masking the sabotage. The worm's ability to cross the air gap and spoof the control logic proved that digital sabotage could now reach into the heart of critical infrastructure without ever touching the internet. Inside classified briefings at the White House, a new kind of operation took shape. The code name was Olympic Games. Authorization came from the highest level. President George W. Bush approved the covert cyber campaign in 2006, setting in motion a partnership between the United States and Israel designed to strike deep into Iran's nuclear infrastructure. According to investigative reports by David E. Sanger, the program drew on the technical expertise of the NSA and the CIA, while Israel's Unit 8200 provided intelligence on the exact configuration of the Natanz plant's industrial controls. The goal was precise: to cause physical damage to Iran's enrichment capability without a single bomb dropped or missile launched. Olympic Games was never a single piece of code. It was a sustained project, with resources and oversight stretching across 2 administrations. When Barack Obama took office, he reviewed the program and ordered its expansion. The operation's continuity is documented in internal memos cited by Sanger's 2012 New York Times article and later confirmed by declassified FBI investigation records. General James Cartwright, then Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, became a key advocate for the weapon's deployment, pushing for accelerated use after initial tests showed promising results. The existence of Olympic Games remained one of Washington's most closely guarded secrets until Sanger's reporting forced it into the open. His on-camera account, later echoed in Alex Gibney's documentary 0 Days, attributes the sabotage directly to this joint United States and Israeli initiative. The partnership provided not just technical know-how, but also unique access to Iranian PLC configurations, details only Unit 8200 could supply. The program's name, the decision chain, and the cross-border cooperation are now a matter of public record, even as many operational details remain classified. Olympic Games gave Stuxnet the backing, the motive, and the means to become the world's first true cyberweapon.
You can see lawyers' fingerprints are all over Stuxnet.
It's the first time I've heard someone say that lawyers' fingerprints were all over Stuxnet.
Yeah, you can see that as they were designing this, the lawyers would have had very tight restrictions for controlling this. They would have told the developers, this can only affect the systems that are targeted. You have to write this in such a way.
It likely blocks out 2 major nation states that
Yeah.
could have done it, China and Russia. I'm not sure they would have cared too much about the legal implications.
This was exactly.
In 2009, Stuxnet underwent a transformation that set it apart from any malware before it. The new version arrived armed with 4 zero-day exploits, each one previously unknown to Microsoft, each one a secret doorway into Windows systems. This arsenal let the worm leap from one computer to the next, bypassing nearly every defense in place at Natanz. Once inside, Stuxnet did not just spy or disrupt. It took direct control of the Siemens Step 7 controllers, managing the centrifuges. The payload was precise. Stuxnet monitored the digital environment, waiting for the exact configuration used in Iran's IR-1 centrifuge cascades. When the conditions matched, the code injected a hidden routine into the PLC systems. This routine manipulated the frequency converters, quietly altering the speed at which the centrifuges spun. For short bursts, the rotors accelerated from their normal 63,000 revolutions per minute up to 84,600, far beyond their design limits. At other times, the code forced sudden slowdowns, then ramped the speed back up, creating cycles of mechanical stress that no maintenance schedule could anticipate. Operators saw nothing out of the ordinary. Stuxnet replayed recorded sensor data, masking the sabotage. But the damage accumulated. Over a matter of months, field reports and subsequent forensic analysis confirmed the loss of more than 1,000 centrifuges. Iranian officials later acknowledged unexplained equipment failures and shutdowns in late 2009 and early 2010, matching the timeline of the malware's most aggressive phase. The sabotage was invisible, but its effects were physical and undeniable. A cyber attack that crossed the boundary into real-world destruction, executed with the subtlety of code and the force of a kinetic strike. On June 22, 2010, a Belarusian security researcher posted a strange Windows worm to an online malware forum. The sample, recovered from a local client's computer, showed a level of complexity that immediately caught the attention of specialists around the world. Within days, security vendors began swapping theories in private mailing lists and public logs, noting the worm's use of not one but 4 previously unknown zero-day exploits, an arsenal never seen in the wild. The code's sophistication set off alarm bells. It did not just infect machines, it burrowed into Siemens Step 7 control software, the backbone of countless industrial systems. As technical details surfaced, a German engineer named Ralph Langner took the lead. Langner's team dissected the code. They traced its routines and uncovered a payload designed to manipulate programmable logic controllers, the systems that direct physical machinery. In a series of technical briefings, Langner made a decisive claim: this was not ordinary malware. It was a weapon engineered to sabotage a very specific industrial process. By September, his public analysis identified the target: centrifuge arrays running in Iran's Natanz plant. The revelation marked the end of Stuxnet's covert phase. What began as a quiet post in a Belarusian forum triggered a global investigation, exposing a new kind of threat: code that could leap from the digital world to cause real-world destruction. The world's first cyberweapon was no longer a secret. Its discovery forced both state actors and the security community to confront a new reality, one where software could silently cross borders, cripple infrastructure, and rewrite the rules of conflict. Once unleashed, Stuxnet's code could not be contained. Analysts at the Department of Energy and the NSA traced its digital fingerprints to more than 150 nations, a proliferation mapped in the 2012 International Telecommunication Union Survey. Security firms cataloged Stuxnet-derived fragments in corporate networks, government systems, and even hospital equipment far beyond the original Iranian target. By 2012, a wiper called Shamoon erased 35,000 computers at Saudi Aramco, crippling the world's largest oil producer. In 2015, attackers in Ukraine used similar tactics to trigger widespread power outages, manipulating industrial controls with code that echoed Stuxnet's approach. The blueprint for sabotage had become public knowledge. By 2025, the boundaries between state and criminal actors had blurred. A House Committee staff report based on a joint Department of Energy and NSA assessment warned that Stuxnet-class malware had appeared in 155 countries. The same vulnerabilities exploited at Natanz lingered in American infrastructure. That summer, news of an Israeli cyber strike on Iran's nuclear facilities circulated through intelligence channels, with claims, never officially confirmed, that Stuxnet-derived code had been repurposed for a new round of sabotage. Congressional transcripts from July 2025 captured the unease. The code is out there. We cannot put it back. The story had shifted from a single covert operation to a global reckoning as the world confronted the reality that cyberweapons, once released, become everyone's problem. Today, cyberweapons target not just networks, but the physical world, critical infrastructure, power grids, hospitals. Stuxnet's design was reverse-engineered within months, inspiring attacks from North Korea to Ukraine. No international treaty restrains this new arsenal, and escalation remains unchecked. The digital boundaries of conflict are gone.
So I think in that regard, if you're looking at actually preventing Iran from developing nuclear weapons or convincing them to not go down that route, Stuxnet was a failure.
What began as covert sabotage now shapes every nation's security. In a world where code can destroy, the next front line is invisible and everywhere.